So, Nate, in terms of Mike Norvell keeping his job,
Mm-hmm.
this is where I think recruiting might tie into this. And again, you're going to be able to supply me with not necessarily the answer. Nobody knows the answer.
Nope.
But people are just looking at a record. If he goes 8-4, he keeps his job. If he goes 7-5, he probably keeps his job. You know, people have different standards. But could it be more like if he goes 7-5 and their recruiting class is 12 or 15 in the country, then okay, well, he really brought it back and that's strong and he's good to go. Versus he goes 7-5 and his recruiting class is 38. Do you think that's going to factor into it possibly?
Yeah, I do. You know, the 2024 class is number one in the country right now. I know that's super early, but they've done a tremendous job so far for 2024. And you need the FSU needs the continuity. You know, they can't go to another coach. They can't go from Jimbo to Willie to Mike to another head coach in 6 years, whatever the time frame is. They just can't do that. And what quality coach are you going to land if you keep turning over coaches? At the flip side, FSU, if they want to stay competitive, I think Norvell has to win 8 games this year. I think the schedule on paper doesn't set up that hard. I think even Clemson, who they were in it last year in the fourth quarter, is a game that they have a chance to be competitive in. I don't look at that schedule and think that's an L, that's an L, that's an L. I don't look at that schedule that way. But I don't look at that schedule also and think, oh, WWWWW.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think there's maybe 4 or 5 games that are on there that are, I would say are winnable right now. But there's a lot of toss-ups. Florida, Miami, LSU, NC State. Those are toss-up games.
Yeah. Most of the division games are toss-ups.
Yep. Louisville. There's a lot of toss-ups. Wake Forest, one of the best offenses in the country, but their defense is horrible. But I think he's got to win 8 games this year. And I think he's got to be inside the top 15. I think he has to be. And to your point, top 15 is not a great class. Top 10 is where FSU needs to be year over year in order to be competitive for the playoff. And if you really want to be even more serious about it, you need to be top 7, top 6, because that's when you start landing multiple 5- and 4-star kids. That's when you get the blue chips that are gonna be 3-year and out guys that get you to that next level. If he's not there, if he goes 7-5 and loses to Miami, loses to Florida, I think that everything's on the table. I don't want it that way because I'm a fan of Norvell. As an FSU fan, the program can't take another turnover, but what's the wins and loss there? Do you continue to fall down the rung, or do you try to, save face? And I think Mike Alford has shown that he's not going to play games. He gives a big pay raise to the softball coach. He makes a change with soccer, but brings in the best coach in the SEC to keep going on with FSU soccer program. He's not going to go the cheap route with coaches. So if something happens and things fall apart, I think that they'll bring in a quality guy. But that's a topic of discussion for another day. But I think you and I debated the schedule last year a little bit, but that schedule, they can win 8 games, but they can also go 6-6. And then I think that's adios to Mike Norvell.
So, Nate, one more thing. We've talked all 23 class. I would like to get your thoughts on who from the 22 class you think could make an impact this fall.
So, they did a really good job on the offensive line, but I don't think any of those guys are going to really play major minutes this year. If they get to that route, then things are falling apart. I think you start with the 2 cornerbacks that they brought in, Sam McCall and Azure Thomas. Those two guys had phenomenal spring camps. I think that Sam McCall is a 5-star. You expected that from him. Ajay Thomas was a 4-star blue chip kid. I think he took a lot of people by surprise, and that kid went out and earned his spot. I think that's 2 freshmen that are going to play major minutes and right now sit arguably on the 2 deep roster for FSU at each corner spot. So I fully expect them to see a lot of minutes. When you look at the linebacker spot, they have some people. I think Omar Graham plays a lot on special teams. When you look at defensive line, they like what they have at defensive tackle and Bishop Thomas. The kid from Louisiana, he sat out last year, came in, had a great spring. And Dingo Lions, they like him. But, again, they have depth at that position. I don't think that those 2 kids play. I think that it's a class overall that I think it was, 21st or 22nd last year. A little bit top-heavy. Right now, I go 2 names, and that's McCall and Thomas. And we wait and see what happens. I think Rodney Hill, at running back, may play a little bit. You know, he was pretty solid in the spring, especially coming out of coming out of the backfield. So I think a little bit with him, and I stick it to that, and then I'm in wait and see mode. I'm sorry, I'm in full on wait and see.
Sure.
You know,
I get it.
I want to see fall camp, but you know, I think those 3-4 guys really stick out to me right now.
What's the latest on Destin Hill?
Okay, so summer C started today. He had to be there today. There was a lot of there's been a lot of secrecy. I think Logan's talked about it maybe a little bit with you. You know, there's only just a handful of people who know really what's going on inside the program. It's like a national secret almost. He's been expected at FSU. From what I've been told, he has a locker set up at FSU. They're waiting for him, but he's not there. As of today, no one knows about him. If he's not there now, I don't think you can ever expect him to be there. I know he has some things that have that kept him from enrolling, and we won't go there because that's personal things. But he's a kid that will come in right away and help that offense tremendously. He didn't get recruited from LSU because of the off-field stuff and some concerns, but on the field, the kid is dynamite, and that's what FSU needs. When they landed him, they landed one of the best playmakers in the country. But here we are, and heading in fall of 2022, he's not there. He's going to be in that Deshaun Platt, Callahan Bright, the folklore of what could have been players at FSU, which is a shame.